Hello, fellow Toolboxers. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for coming to another episode. We're going to be interviewing the great Ruby Powers. I'm sure you all heard of her. She's been on the podcast before, so we're not going to go too much into her background. But she's leading the fall conference on the practice management tech portion. So we're going to talk about that. That's with the AILA conference, as well as a book that's coming out, which I've read parts of it. I'm very proud of it. It's a good book, so it's definitely something to read. Before we start, my marriage immigration course is going great. And we have this O1 seminar we did 2 years back. I never edited it, so it's a raw file that's long. But I'm like, you know what? If you're going to get the marriage green card course for next month or so, I'm going to throw it in there as a 2-for-1 package. So you learn family-based and employment-based, a part of it at least, at the same time. So if you're interested in that, email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com, and I can tell you more information about that program. Having said that, let's get Ruby on. And as always, this isn't intended for individual legal guidance. I don't think we're going to talk law here, more practice and stuff. But Ruby, thanks for coming on the show again.
Thanks, John. It's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. So the fall conference, you're setting up a track. I mean, you have a lot of experience setting up these conferences and stuff, but I did it once 2 years ago at the O1 seminar. I'm like, oh, this is a lot of work. So what are you guys doing? Is it ready? And I mean, when is it coming to us? Is it September?
Yeah, it's September 27th. And so basically I've been the chair of the Law Practice Management Conference in the past. And then we had the tech conference. I think this is like maybe the fourth or fifth one. I should probably know this by now, but it was like every other year. And what AILA was doing was 1 year law practice management, 1 year tech. But last year we had the AILA Tech and Innovation Summit in San Francisco. It went really well. And we were basically saying, hey, AILA, there's just so much going on in the tech space. Could we do it next year?
Yeah.
And so they listened to us. And what they're doing is for the fall conference, they're going to have 3 tracks. And so one of them is perm, so employment-based, basically. One is removal, so immigration court. And then one is the tech and innovation summit. And so the way it works is you tell them which one you're going to attend, and then you get the recordings of the rest. So that way you don't miss out and being in 3 places at the same time. And so basically there's 3 conference tracks, but it's 1 day, and it's September 27th in Dallas. So, Dallas is easy to get to from multiple airports, and the weather is pretty good by the late September in Texas. And I mean, I think you could make a trip out of it. I'm thinking about doing something with book promotion, maybe a little before, get together with other people who are, want to just talk, law practice management and tech. So I'm really excited. And so I'm the chair, and we have 6 panels, including a innovator spotlight at the end of the day. We're still putting on finishing touches on that one as well. So it's only a couple of months away, but this is the time to book your travel and make plans.
Wonderful. And, like tech is practice management. It's like interchangeable now because the tech is so hardcore involved in everything.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also on the ABA tech show board this coming year, and the conference is in April in Chicago. And I mean, I basically just look at it as it's so intertwined. Like you really can't have law practice management without conversing about tech, and you can't think about tech without law practice management. So pretty much anywhere there's legal tech, or I'm there.
Well, actually, I remember reading a post, I think yesterday maybe, you're speaking at a Clio event.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of programs, ClioCon is in Austin in October, and Filevine is having the Lex Summit in September in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'll be speaking at both of those, as well as the Tech Summit and Innovation Summit for AILA. So
plane for the next couple months.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I love it. I'll be promoting the book. I'll be out there talking to people, seeing, what other people are thinking, and just, I love this stuff.
Well, before I'm going to talk about the book, but you're in Houston, and I was seeing like electricity out and stuff. What's the situation there? We're recording this in, July 15th.
Yeah. So a week ago today, we survived a Category 1 hurricane, but most Houstonians would say that's not that strong, but we were all shocked at how strong it was, and took down many trees and much power. In fact, for the most part of many days, it was about 2 million people without power. Ooh. I even had people like staying at my house, people staying at my office house, because just we get in the 80s. I mean, we get in the 90s and the hundreds really fast. Boy. So no AC. So you got to imagine people lost their food. They couldn't charge their devices. Cell coverage was down. So just like, things that we just take for granted,
Yeah.
being, air conditioned, having power, phones not dying, or being able to get messages across. One thing I'll say, I continue to see this, is that having virtual assistants has helped me because I've diversified the geography of my team. And I
Interesting.
think also diversifying my clientele is really key as well. So that whenever we get down with like a natural disaster, doesn't mean my whole client base is going to, to be hurt, because it is, we're going to be focusing,
Yeah.
everyone in Houston's going to be focusing on repairing and survival. So they had warned us this was going to be a bad hurricane season. So we probably have more to come, unfortunately. I think most of the cities almost online again, but thanks for asking. And not that many casualties, but it was only a category 1, but it still had a big impact. So
Yeah, that diversification is so key. And the one thing when I first started practicing, I have an office in Los Angeles, and then I kept getting cases from Northern California and the San Jose area. So I got like
mhm.
a mailing address there, so I go and visit. And I got too lazy to fly back and forth. It's like an hour flight; it's not too bad. So I still run out of here. But I always thought there's an earthquake in LA. I could go up there, and I'll still have some cases go to Northern California. Southern California goes down. So hopefully
Yeah.
it happens. But it's an interesting thing to have.
I mean, honestly, I never really thought that that was going to be so important, but I was at the Texas Service Center a couple weeks ago, and they said the reason why they have their service centers all around around the country is because
Yeah.
of that exact reason. If there's like a snowstorm here or a hurricane there, then the operation still should be able to run on the other parts of the country. And I was like, that's brilliant. And I accidentally am doing the same thing. So.
Well, speaking of which, diversity office. So you've already written a book that was published a couple years back about practice management, and you're putting the final touches on the new one. What's the title, and what's new and what's changed?
Okay, well, yeah, this is getting me ready to pitch it because I'm still editing. I was reviewing the edits on the plane this morning. Well, it's called Power Up Your Practice. It's the same name as my podcast, and the subtitle is yet to be finalized, but we're in the works. It's going to be coming out in early to mid August. So it's going to be exciting. We already have 25 chapters. So things that are new are we've got a whole really robust chapter on succession planning, side hustles. We have more on, I made 2 chapters on marketing, not just one. Before I had one, and then I made one on digital marketing as well. There's more about just operations and staff, virtual assistants. That's a new chapter that didn't exist before, and also more business theory as well. So it's divided into 3 parts. The first is more business theory, mission, vision, planning, goals. And it does have like a startup chapter. So if you are truly just like, I'm starting today, what do I do?
Yeah.
We have that. The second, third is more about practical, like how do you make this stuff happen from operations, HR, marketing, staff, etc., all that good stuff, and customer service, everything that makes it run. And then the third part is more, I would say, aspirational, more long game. So that one's the one that has more succession planning, partnership track, side hustle, diversity, and also buying a building, and basically also professional growth. Like, where do you want to go with your
Hmm.
career?
Yeah.
And so I think that sometimes people think these books are just for people who are starting their firms, but that's not the case. This book is it's going to be 500 to 600 pages so far.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to cut it down, really, John. I really am. I really am. And the one good thing is it's going to be on Audible eventually. So if
Are
that's
you gonna do a reading of it?
yeah, I was planning on
Oh
it.
boy, that's a long read if you're
I'll
throwing
get my
stuff like
radio voice on. No.
that.
But this is for anyone who's starting out, who's had one for a little while or had it for a long time, like myself, it's 15 years. Because honestly, and even like someone like my aunt who's had hers for 40 years, there's something along the line we might have skipped. And I think that everyone can find benefit, especially with all the changes. And when you've had your own business for a long time, it's easy to get a little siloed and not be able to know what other people are doing as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, there's a lot of books I'm starting up to, and that was like a difficulty I was thinking about when I started my firm. And then once I hit a certain part, I was like, that's it. But then now I'm realizing, oh, these last couple of years, or maybe 5 or 6 years, there's different levels of growth and scaling and stuff that I didn't think about. And it's really important. You have to go back to the drawing board and read all this stuff to learn it. And especially that long-term kind of planning, partnership track, what's going to happen, if you're sick one day and you can't, all these different things you got to plan out.
Yeah.
Because we got to be fair to our clients. They're paying money, and we got to have plans and plans and plans. And a lawyer's job is to be paranoid constantly. It's what we do. So any helpful guidance on this stuff is really key. So when it's published too, I'm gonna definitely get the book and read those parts, and we'll probably have some oral conversations about those, breaking this out as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point because a lot of the books are more about the starting and then, but what about the later, when you have some staff and how do you keep them growing and how
Yeah.
do you plan out the partnership track and the whole succession planning? I mean, that needs to be thought about earlier in our game, game plan, because you need to have the end in sight and work backwards.
Yeah.
And because we've only been able to sell our firms for the last, like 30, 40 years, really we don't have a lot of good role models, and 1 in 7 attorneys are over 65 right now, and there's going to be a lot of baby boomers retiring, but attorneys actually work longer, retire later than non-attorneys. So it's just a matter of time before we're going to see a lot of movement in that space as well.
Speaking of that, like, what, you were one of the people who helped me make the switch to more technology and especially CRMs. And one aspect was like, if 10 years from now I want to sell it, I need to have a database of how many people are calling,
Mhm.
or clients are, as opposed to the pen and paper Excel system that I have. So if I'm going to sell it, I'm losing value just because I didn't document something properly. So that's like a shame. Probably internally, when I have the team like take over, like part of the success plan for my succession is, and partnership track is, well, you're going to take us over because I'm not going to do this forever. And that's an incentive for people to grow. But at the same time, like, we got to be able to break down the numbers of what they're getting. And it's more professional thing to do that. And that's why I got different technology, and I've been wrestling with that. And that's something I'm going to definitely talk about a lot more too. But you gotta think about this stuff. Yeah.
Well, and part of the value of selling your practice or just valuing it for a partnership track is your book of business. And book of business doesn't mean just your clients, your prior clients and your existing clients. It also means the contacts on your newsletter and your referral list. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I interviewed Victoria Collier, who's an expert on that space, and we talked about that in some of our interviews. And actually, speaking about succession planning, I'm so fascinated by it and wanting to get more deeper into that space. I have an article with the ABA Law Practice magazine out right now about succession planning in the Big Ideas edition that I was one of the editors for. So people can check that out. But there's 2 articles about succession planning in that edition. But yeah, I think a lot of people either don't have good role models in that space. They don't want to admit it. It's like having to write a will, but it's more depth. And so they're just like, put the head in the ostrich, put your head in the sand, on that topic. But I think we all should push ourselves into getting further along that conversation.
Yeah, well, I think when law firms are sold, they're still at like 1x gross. So it's like you're not making much, and that's, you want to try to get 2, 3x.
There's different ways in valuing, and that is one of the biggest crazy takeaways about it in writing my chapter on this as well, is that it also depends on the area of law and like how things are calculated. Sometimes law firm owners might not take a decent salary, so you have to look at the numbers before you calculate those types of things. And let's see. There's a lot to it. Like, if you think there's going to be recurring business, like employment-based immigration firms would be valued generally more than family-based, just because there's knowledge of the recurring business, having multiple companies that'll come back for repeat business. But if you play your cards right, your family-based work business can come back for you. If you have a robust CRM and you really do a good job. I mean, I've 15 years of having my firm. I'm already, I got them their green card, removed the conditions, I got the systems, and now we're petitioning for the parents and who knows what.
Cycle continues. Yeah, that's the thing. Is family based, it gets short, like, doesn't get depression, but there's if you keep a good relationship with the client, that circle keeps rotating and you keep it going.
Yeah, exactly. And it's even when I see clients that are, from 10 years ago or 12 years ago, I recognize faces, but I don't really remember the names, but I remember random details. And so it's like, oh wow, it's fascinating to see what people have done with their lives. And
Mhm.
it's great to be part of that journey.
For sure.
Just
I
like
actually just before this in this recording, I got an email from a client to help get Nats and then I mean sorry, just status through marriage. Then I kind of lost track of it. And she emailed me. It's like I finally got my citizenship. Thanks so much. You changed my life. I can't
oh,
believe that. And I was like, wow, it's and she's like, you're what you do is so special. Even though I didn't do a Nats, I kind of lost track with her. She's like, I still listen to your newsletter. I learn from it and I share it with my friends. And so that's a very powerful thing that exists, both relationship, emotionally, and plus business wise. I mean, she's referring people left and right. Sometimes I don't even know she's the one who referred it. She'll just tell a friend and they'll
yeah.
tell.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's where the CRM and the newsletter are so valuable because getting that information out, and then we don't know who they're sending it out to,
Yeah.
but that's been one of the biggest things I'm so grateful that we do at our firm, is having a regular newsletter in English and Spanish every other week, and it just has an infinite reach, and it also helps when there's constant changes as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's great. I think those little nuggets of those good news,
Yeah.
success stories, they definitely warm your heart and remind you to keep chugging away at all the
Yep.
insanity that it can some come our way.
Speaking of newsletter, one thing I started doing last week is when we have a name and email, I'm also adding to our newsletter database what country that's associated with the case.
Oh,
That if there's like an earthquake somewhere, I say, okay, everyone in Turkey, like send an email out saying this. So it won't be a mass email to our whole list.
mhm,
And some people are like, I'm going to unsubscribe. It doesn't have to do with me. But like all the Turkish people know that like we're going directly to them or any community in particular that's going to be affected, really based on nationality or country of birth or passport or something. We're gonna start. I got to start going back to my client list and updating our CRM to include that. So that's like a job right there. But all future ones I've automated within our systems now that it gets plugged in, and I can just send, okay, all the people who are this country, send out this. We got TPS for this country, just send it out to everyone from Haiti or Nick, whatever country is getting the extension. And that's like a direct marketing kind of thing that's permitted, and people really, I mean, they're gonna help. It's just positive for them because if I send a TPS and X country is renewed, someone in other countries like, what does that have to do with me? But that really
right.
is a powerful thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. Maybe we're going too far into CRM, so which we've had our own like sidebar conversations about that. Is like I was using the newsletter as like, especially during the Trump administration, like here's information, just like I'm
Yeah.
trying to keep my head above water, just keep paying attention. But like if I really had it super organized, like you're mentioning, you have the tags, and then like when
Yeah.
Venezuela, Haiti TPS comes out, then you can just forward it to them, or
Yeah, we're
Venezuela.
tagging all the Biden executive order ones, so once we
Right.
actually know what's going on, we can send them to those people.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we're doing that too, and I think the having those like tags or differentiate the people, the more information that's in your system, the more you can
Mhm.
target them specifically, and not have be so haphazard. But I think a lot from the law practice management hat, there's a lot of people who don't do a newsletter whatsoever or don't keep all of their contact info, client
Yeah.
staff, like client information in one place that they can get that information out. Yeah.
So, yeah, this is, we're gonna talk about this more, but like I said, come fall and check it out in Dallas, have a good time too, so it's gonna be a lot of fun, seeing
Yeah.
more person. As we were talking about earlier, the funnest thing about these conferences is seeing colleagues and talking. It's for me, I could always listen to recordings later, but just in person. How we met, we just run in Orlando. We knew each other and from online and stuff, but we just walked past each other like, "Oh, it's you." Out of this talk, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we just like made time to just talk, and it was just, why not? And
Yeah.
I love that approach of making sure that we get to connect and make
Mhm.
connections, and then we did it again, in Chicago where you and I were just hanging around, and then someone come up and start talking to us, and then we like before we knew it, we were making new, arrangements and communicating and sharing ideas and staying in touch with new people. And no, it's just
Yeah.
beautiful how organic that networking and sharing of ideas can be.
It's a superpower of our practice area because other people really hate each other, civil and plaintiffs, but
Very
like immigration.
adversarial. Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like you take advantage of the superpower that's given free. Everyone, just immigration lawyers will help each other and they're nice to each other as opposed to there. So definitely somebody to get into. Ruby,
yeah.
if people wanted to, how could they get on the book list or reach out to you? Probably, do you have a wait list for it or some sort of notification system?
Yeah, well, I would say you could find me on LinkedIn, and we're coordinating a better funnel for everything. I'm on Ruby Powers on LinkedIn. And then if you want to add to the newsletter, just say you want to be added. But you can also find us on Power Strategy Group on YouTube. We have all of our prior podcasts and our webinars there. And contact at powerstrategygroup.com. We can add you to the newsletter. And Power Up Your Practice is our website that's becoming more robust as we speak, with more information. But all of those different ways, LinkedIn, the contact email, and we're working to get that information out as soon as possible. But yeah, if you're on our newsletter, then you'll know about it. And it will be sold on Amazon, and we will get on Audible as soon as we possibly can, but it'll definitely be a book first and then on Audible later. But yeah, but I'm really excited, and I look at it as a guidebook for running your law firm, and not just from starting, but the intermediate and the final stages as well, and a lot of inspiration. And then what we're going to do is we're going to keep updating the website, Power Up Your Practice, with more resources, so that it'll become like a living book.
Nice.
And more information comes, and more suggested vendors or ideas, articles. We'll keep that updated on the website.
Very cool. Stay on the line a little bit, but I'll end the show there. Thanks, Ruby, for coming on again, and I'm glad you're doing safe, the hurricane, and all that.
Well, thanks, John. Good to see you again.